The psychology of people who don't care about their birthday. Have you ever met someone who genuinely doesn't care about their birthday? No excitement, no plans, not even a hint of anticipation. While others are busy counting down to their special day, they shrug and say, "It's just another day." But behind that simple statement lies something deeper. Something rooted in psychology, self-perception, and the way we relate to time, meaning, and memory. Because birthdays, though seemingly trivial, touch on our identity, our need for validation, and our relationship with existence itself. For most of us, birthdays symbolize more than a date. They are small annual milestones, reminders of progress, connection, and self-worth. So when someone dismisses theirs entirely, it isn't always indifference. It can be a subtle mirror of how they see themselves and the world around them. Tonight, let's explore what it truly means when someone doesn't care about their birthday. What does it say about their mind, their past, and their quiet philosophy of life? Let's begin with something fundamental: the emotional meaning of birthdays. For many people, birthdays are symbolic markers of identity. They offer a socially accepted moment to receive attention and care. But for those who detach from it, the absence of excitement often reflects a different wiring of value systems. They may not associate happiness with external validation or ceremonial milestones. Their sense of self-worth doesn't need to be confirmed once a year. They exist comfortably without being celebrated, because their internal compass for meaning points inward rather than outward. However, there are layers to this detachment. Some people grow indifferent to their birthdays not because of philosophical calm, but because of emotional exhaustion. For them, birthdays have become reminders of expectations that were never met. Forgotten calls, disappointing parties, or childhood moments when celebration felt hollow. The subconscious stores these experiences as quiet disappointments. Over time, the brain learns to preemptively mute excitement to protect itself from future letdowns. The logic is simple. If you don't care, you can't be hurt. And so, emotional indifference becomes a kind of armor. One that shields, but also isolates. In psychology, this kind of emotional withdrawal often stems from what's known as learned emotional suppression, when early celebrations brought more discomfort than joy, be it from family neglect, social anxiety, or emotional absence. The mind adapts by reducing its emotional investment in such events. A person may say, "It's not a big deal," but beneath that calm exterior lies a quiet conditioning, the association of attention with discomfort. What was once meant to be joyful has become a ritual of vulnerability, and they've learned to avoid it altogether. Then there's the question of introversion and solitude. Many people who dislike or disregard birthdays are introverts. Not in the shallow sense of shyness, but in the deeper psychological sense of energy direction. They derive fulfillment from reflection, not from social attention. A party for them isn't just noise, it's an interruption of peace. The thought of being the center of attention feels invasive, even artificial. They may care deeply about others' happiness, but feel little need for celebration themselves. For such personalities, birthdays become emotionally neutral. Something they prefer to spend quietly, often alone, in contemplation rather than spectacle. Interestingly, research on self-concept and temporal identity suggests that birthdays can feel alienating to those who experience a strong detachment from the passage of time. For people who live deeply in the present, counting years feels meaningless. They may reject the conventional sense of progress marked by age because they don't perceive time as linear growth. Their focus lies on ongoing experience, not yearly milestones. In a sense, not caring about birthdays becomes a subtle form of resistance, a rejection of society's obsession with time as measurement. To them, life isn't about the number of years lived, but about the depth of awareness in each moment. But the psychology of this detachment can also stem from more existential roots. For some, birthdays act as small mirrors reflecting mortality. The day that once marked your arrival becomes a reminder of how quickly it all passes. This awareness can be uncomfortable for those sensitive to the transient nature of existence. As we age, each birthday becomes a subtle confrontation with impermanence. Another year gone, Another reminder that time only flows one way. People who are deeply introspective often feel this more acutely. Instead of celebration, they feel the weight of existential reflection. For them, not caring about their birthday isn't apathy. It's quiet acceptance of the impermanence of being. Psychologically, this attitude aligns with what existential philosophers call temporal detachment. It's not sadness, it's clarity. It's the awareness that the self celebrated each year is, in truth, never the same person. The version of you turning 25 or 40 or 60 is a different psychological entity from who you were before. And so, for some, the idea of celebrating a fixed self feels hollow, even illusory. They move beyond the need for ritual affirmation because they no longer believe in a static identity to celebrate. Yet, there's another, more emotional side. Some people don't care about their birthday because they have learned not to expect care from others. Neglect, whether from family, friends, or relationships, shapes emotional patterns. A child who rarely felt celebrated learns that special days are not meant for them. Over the years, that lesson embeds itself into their emotional DNA. They might smile when others wish them well, but deep down, they've built a kind of emotional neutrality to prevent disappointment. It's not bitterness, it's emotional realism, a survival instinct born from unmet needs. There's also a cultural and social dimension to consider. In individualistic societies, birthdays are framed as personal milestones, moments for self-focus and individual celebration. But in collectivist or minimalist cultures, such self-centered celebration can feel unnecessary or even uncomfortable. People who grow up in environments that value humility, restraint, or stoicism often internalize the belief that making a fuss about oneself is self-indulgent. So when they downplay their birthday, it may not reflect sadness, but cultural conditioning. A quiet belief that joy doesn't have to be loud to be real. At a deeper psychological level, people who genuinely don't care about their birthday often share a certain personality structure, a blend of emotional independence and reflective intelligence. They are less driven by external validation and more grounded in internal meaning. Studies on self-determination theory show that individuals with high autonomy and low external motivation are less influenced by rituals that depend on others' participation. They find contentment in solitude, not performance. For them, the absence of celebration doesn't signify emptiness. It signifies freedom, and that freedom can be misunderstood. Society tends to equate indifference with sadness. If someone doesn't care about their birthday, we assume they're lonely, hurt, or depressed. But often, they simply find meaning in other things. Silence, routine, continuity. Their calm detachment isn't a cry for attention. It's a declaration of emotional self-sufficiency. They've realized that happiness doesn't need to arrive on schedule. It can exist quietly, without candles or applause. But not all forms of detachment are serene. For some, indifference hides a quiet grief. The grief of time slipping by without feeling fulfilled. Each passing year can bring a sense of incompleteness, of plans unrealized. So instead of celebration, they avoid reflection altogether. They distract themselves, pretend it's an ordinary day, because confronting the gap between who they are and who they want it to be is simply too heavy. Psychologists call this cognitive avoidance, a defense mechanism that minimizes psychological discomfort by disengaging from triggers. In this case, the trigger is the birthday itself. Yet, paradoxically, some people find power in this indifference. By not caring, they take control over a social ritual that often dictates emotional expectations. They strip away the pressure to feel a certain way, to be happy, to celebrate, to perform gratitude. In doing so, they reclaim agency over their emotions. It's a quiet act of rebellion against forced positivity, a declaration that joy cannot be scheduled. It's freedom from the script that says, you must be happy today because it's your birthday. Now, let's explore how this mindset interacts with memory. For many who don't care about their birthdays, the day doesn't hold unique emotional weight because their sense of narrative identity, the mental story they tell about themselves, doesn't rely on dates. Instead of constructing life through annual markers, They view existence as continuous flow. This aligns with the psychological concept of narrative minimalism, a mindset where one lives without assigning emotional hierarchy to moments. Each day holds equal value, each moment equally sacred. In such minds, the birthday loses symbolic power, not because it's meaningless, but because all days are meaningful. But what about those who used to love their birthdays and gradually stopped caring? That shift often signals psychological growth or burnout. As people mature, their dopamine response to novelty decreases. The excitement that once came from gifts and attention fades because the brain no longer links those stimuli to long-term satisfaction. Instead, meaning shifts inward, toward purpose, connection, peace. A quiet dinner or a solitary walk replaces the need for parties. The absence of enthusiasm doesn't mean emptiness. It means evolution. The mind no longer craves what it once did. However, some lose interest for more melancholic reasons, because the people who once made those days special are no longer there. The absence of loved ones reshapes emotional associations. A birthday without them feels incomplete, even painful. So indifference becomes emotional camouflage, a way to hide longing. They'll say, "I don't care about birthdays," but the truth is more delicate. Caring hurts too much. The psychology of grief often masks itself in detachment. The less one feels, the safer it seems. In relationships, this indifference can be misunderstood. Partners or friends may interpret it as coldness or self-neglect. But people who truly don't care about their birthday often express love and meaning differently. They value authenticity over ritual, depth over gestures. They might not celebrate their own day, but they'll remember yours in quiet, thoughtful ways. Their indifference toward themselves doesn't extend to others. It's simply a personal philosophy that rejects unnecessary spotlight. Interestingly, this mindset parallels Stoic and Buddhist philosophies, which emphasize detachment from external events and impermanence. To not care about one's birthday can reflect a mature psychological detachment. Freedom from the illusion that meaning must be assigned to arbitrary dates. It's not nihilism, it's neutrality. Life continues, whether celebrated or not. The absence of ritual doesn't erase the richness of being. It can even amplify it. Without external noise, existence becomes quiet enough to feel directly. And yet, for some, not caring is simply convenience. Modern life, saturated with constant stimulation, leaves little emotional bandwidth for celebration. People working long hours, managing stress, or dealing with anxiety may simply lack the energy to engage in self-focus. Their apathy isn't existential, it's pragmatic. In a world of deadlines and distractions, birthdays can feel like another obligation. When everything demands attention, the self becomes the last priority. But here's something beautiful about those who don't care about birthdays. They often understand the essence of time more deeply than most. They recognize that every day holds the same quiet miracle: existence. They don't need balloons or candles to feel alive. Their joy, when it comes, is quiet, spontaneous, and untethered to dates. While others chase moments of recognition, they find contentment in anonymity, peace in ordinariness. In psychological terms, they have transcended the hedonic treadmill, the endless chase for temporary happiness, and arrived at something rarer: equanimity. Still, it's worth asking, should we care? Should one feel guilty for not celebrating? The answer lies in authenticity. There's no correct psychological response to time passing. Whether you cherish your birthday or forget it entirely, what matters is that your relationship with yourself feels honest. To some, joy means gathering friends. To others, it means solitude and silence. Both are valid. Both are human. In the end, people who don't care about their birthdays teach us something quietly profound. They remind us that meaning is self-chosen, that you don't need a date on the calendar to feel worthy of attention, or loved, or alive. They embody a form of emotional independence that frees them from the expectations of celebration. Their calm indifference isn't emptiness, it's peace. It's the acceptance that life doesn't need markers to matter. So, the next time you meet someone who says, "I don't care about my birthday," Listen beyond the words. It may not be sadness or cynicism. It might just be wisdom. Because maybe, just maybe, those who care the least about being celebrated are the ones who've learned the most about what truly matters. They understand that every day is a birthday of consciousness itself. Each sunrise, a quiet rebirth. And in that simplicity lies a deeper form of joy. The kind that doesn't need to be celebrated to be real.